The alarm started at 600 station time. Nearly dropped her morning coffee when the red lights began flashing across every screen in the command center. She was the administrator of Nexus, massive trade station that orbited a beautiful gas giant. 40,000 people lived here. Most of them were not human. What is that? Asked the young communications officer. She was one of only 35 humans on the entire station. Pulled up the long-range sensors. Her stomach dropped. Contact now. 5 minutes later, walked into the command center. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands. He used to be a Marine, but that was 20 years ago. Now he ran station security and mostly dealt with drunk traders in small fights. Show me, he said simply, pointed at the screen. 47 ships were coming toward them. Big ships, warships. The computer had already identified them as vessels. That's impossible, whispered the sign. The peace treaty, 100 red years ago. Treaties are just words, said his voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. How long do we have? 6 hours, said. Maybe less if they push their engines. Looked around the command center. 3 humans and 5 aliens were on duty. The aliens were already showing signs of fear. One of them, a small blue creature named Pip, was shaking. Can we evacuate? Asked. Had already checked. We have transport ships for maybe 8,000 people, not 40,000. Defense systems, we have shields and some guns, said. Enough to stop pirates. Not a military fleet. Was quiet for a moment. He walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Send a distress call, broadcast on all channels. Already done, said. No response yet. Nearest council fleet is 12 hours away. We'll be dead in 6, said. He turned back to face them. Is the old emergency beacon still working? Frowned. Which one? We have 7 different systems. The Terran emergency frequency. Everyone went quiet, even the aliens stopped moving. The Terran emergency frequency was old, very old. It was from before humans left the galactic community, before they went quiet and disappeared from galactic politics. Said slowly, Earth is 40 light years away. Even if anyone is listening, they can't get here in time. You don't know. Humans said. I do. I served with them. If they hear a distress call, they come. Always. But the stories say humans are dangerous. Pip squeaked. They say humans are from a death world. They say a lot of things. Interrupted. And most of it is true, but here's what else is true. If you call a human for help, they will move heaven and earth to reach you. Trust me. Looked at the young woman, nodded. I can activate it. But it's been 200 years. What if no one is listening? Then we die anyway, said. But at least we tried. Fingers flew across her console. The old beacon was buried in the station's computer systems. It took her 10 minutes to find it and another 5 to power it up. When it finally came online, it made a strange humming sound. Sending message. Now, said. Distress signal coordinates. Situation report broadcasting on continuous loop. They waited 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Maybe we should. Pip started to say. The console beeped. Everyone jumped, stared at her screen. Her hands were shaking. Message received, she read aloud. Hold position. Fleet en route. ETA 4 hours, 4 hours. Said. That's impossible. They're 40 light years away, but was smiling. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had seen war and knew what was coming. They're human, he said. They don't care about impossible. The aliens in the command center started talking all at once. How could anyone travel that far that fast? The physics didn't work. The math was wrong. It had to be a mistake. Raised his voice. Listen to me, all of you. We have 4 hours. Before they arrive, we have 4 hours. Before the humans arrive, we need to survive that time. Send a message to all departments. Evacuation protocol. Get everyone to the intersections. Seal the outer ring if we have to. Seal the outer ring. Said there are people out there. Workers, families, and they'll die if they breach the hall. Said, we seal sections, we create safe zones, we buy time. Knew he was right. She hated it, but she knew. Okay, give the orders. For the next hour, the station transformed. People moved through corridors with bags and children. The aliens were confused and scared. The humans were calm and efficient. They had practiced at surviving. Their whole species did. Station's doctor appeared in the command center. Medical is set up in the inner ring. We have supplies for maybe 300 wounded. I need more hands. Take whoever volunteers. Said, but keep the corridors clear. At hour 2, they sent their first message. It appeared on every screen in the station. The commander was huge with black armor and mandibles that clicked. When he spoke, Nexus the alien said, you will surrender now. We will board your station. Resistance is futile. This is your only warning. Walked up to the main screen. He pressed the reply button. This is Chief of Security. We have civilians here. 40,000 people we have sent for help. Leave now, and there won't be trouble. The laugh. It was a horrible sound. Help from who? The council. They are too far. You are alone. We're not alone. Said quietly. We called the humans. There was a pause. Even through the screen they could see the commander stiffen. Humans are myths. Stories. They have been gone for 2 centuries. Then you have nothing to worry about. Said. He cut the transmission. Stood next to him. Did you see his face when you said humans? Yes. Said he's scared. Good, he should be. What if they don't come? What if they message was a trick? What if they'll come? Said with absolute certainty. I've fought beside humans. I've seen what they do when someone asks for help. They come every time, no matter what. At hour 3, the sensors showed the fleet was accelerating. They would arrive in 3 hours now, not 6. At hour 4, looked up from her console. I'm picking up something strange. Space is, I don't know how to describe it. Space is bending. Where? Asked, pointed at her screen. Everywhere, all around us. It's like reality itself is cracking open. Smiled. Again, that same terrible knowing smile. They're here. But it's only been 4 hours. Pip said, how did they? Because they're human. Said, and humans don't let people die waiting. The screens showed space twisting, folding, tearing. And through those tears came ships, more ships than had ever seen in one place. Count them, she whispered. His voice was shaking. 127 warships, destroyer class, frigate class, carrier class. This isn't a rescue force. This is an entire battle fleet. A new message appeared on the screens. A human woman in a military uniform looked out at them. Behind her could see a massive bridge filled with soldiers. Nexus, this is Admiral of the Terran United Colonial Service. We receive your distress call. We are here. Hold your position. We will handle the stood at attention and saluted the screen even though the message was recorded. When he lowered his hand, there were tears in His eyes, I told you, he said softly. I told you they would come, and outside the window. 127 human warships moved into formation. Around the station and space itself seemed to hold its breath. Ambassador had lived for 300 years. He had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. He had witnessed wars, peace treaties, and the birth of new species into the galactic community, but he had never seen anything like the human fleet that now surrounded Nexus. He stood in the observation deck with a crowd of other aliens. Everyone was staring out the windows. The ships were enormous, dark metal covered in weapons and armor. They moved with precision, forming a perfect defensive sphere around the station. I don't understand, said a young next to him. She had 4 arms and skin like purple silk. Where did they come from? How did they get here so fast? Mandibles clicked nervously. He was in. Tall and thin with compound eyes. They used reality displacement drives. Technology the Council banned 300 years ago. Why was it banned? Because it tears holes in space itself, said it's incredibly dangerous. One mistake and you could destroy an entire solar system, but humans perfected it. Down in the medical bay was preparing for casualties. He was a human doctor, relatively young at 45 years old. 3 alien nurses worked with him, setting up beds and organizing supplies. A small reptilian alien watched lift heavy medical cabinet and move it across the room by himself. The cabinet weighed at least 200 kg. She needed a mechanical lift to move something that heavy. Just picked it up like it was nothing. How are you so strong? She asked, looked confused. What do you mean this isn't heavy? It's 200 kilos. O said as if he hadn't really thought about it. Well, I grew up on Earth. Standard gravity there is about 3 times what it is on this station. So too me, everything here feels light. Eyes went wide. 3 times you grew up in 3 times this gravity. Yeah, Earth is what the Council calls a Class 12 death world. High gravity, high oxygen, extreme temperature changes, active tectonic plates, dangerous wildlife. It's a rough place. Then why do you live there? Asked. She couldn't imagine choosing to live in such a horrible environment. Smiled. Because it's home. You adapt. You know, humans are good at adapting. Across the station, in a small cafeteria, was telling a group of young aliens about the old days. They sat around him in a circle, listening with wide eyes. 200 years ago, said the Galactic Council, made first contact with Earth. They sent a science ship to study the planet. The scientists couldn't believe intelligent life had evolved there. The conditions were too harsh, too dangerous. What did they find? Asked a young alien with tentacles. They found human, said, living in cities, building technology, thriving. And when the humans were told that their planet was considered a death world, you know what they said? Aliens shook their heads. They said, yeah, it's a bit rough, but it's home. Laughed. The Council scientists nearly had a collective breakdown. They couldn't understand how humans could be so casual about it. Is that when the war happened? Asked another alien. Smile faded. No, first the Council invited humans to join the galactic community. Humans said yes. They were excited to meet new species, to explore the stars. For 50 years everything was peaceful. Humans shared their technology, their culture, their art. They made friends across the galaxy. Then the Kame said, walking into the cafeteria, may I join you? Nodded. Please, Ambassador, you have a better memory of this than I do, settled his long body into a specially designed chair. The Dominion was the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had conquered 40 systems. They were ruthless and efficient. When they attacked the Council, we thought we would lose. What happened had followed to the cafeteria to hear the story. The Council asked humanity for help, said, and humanity said yes. They sent their entire military, not just a few ships. Everything, every soldier, every warship, every resource they had. Why? Asked the young tentacled alien. They had only been part of the Council for 50 years. Why risk everything? Because someone asked for help, said. Simply, that's how humans are. If you ask them for help, they come. They don't calculate odds. They don't worry about cost. They just come, continued the story. I was a young ambassador. Then I watched the first battle between humans and it was terrifying. The use terror tactics they fought in environments specifically designed to kill Council species, toxic atmospheres, extreme temperatures, crushing gravity. And the humans asked. The humans thrived, said his voice full of old awe. I watched human soldiers fight on a planet with gravity 4 times Earth. Normal, the thought no one could fight there, but to humans it was just slightly inconvenient. I saw a human soldier get shot 3 times and he kept fighting. I saw humans recover from wounds that should have killed them. We're stubborn, said with a shrug. Evolution made us hard to kill. On Earth, if you gave up, you died. So we learned not to give up. The war lasted 5 years, said. Humanity lost 30 million soldiers, but they won. They defeated completely. The Council was saved. Then why did humans leave? Asked a young alien. Why did they isolate themselves? His voice got hard. Because the Council got scared. They saw what humans could do in war. They saw how we fought, how we survived, how we refused to quit, and instead of being grateful, they got afraid. The Council offered humanity, Seat said quietly, a place of honor. But there were conditions. Humans couldn't expand beyond certain systems, couldn't build military bases near Council space, couldn't share certain technologies. The Council wanted humanity's help, but they also wanted to control humanity. What did humans say? Asked. They said no, said politely. Humans from the Council went back to their own space, closed their borders for 200 years. They've been silent, but they still listen, said. We still watch, we still care what happens out here. How do you know? Asked the tentacled alien, pointed out the window at the massive fleet. Because when one station sent a distress call, they sent 127 warships in 4 hours. Across 40 light years. Does that sound like a species that stopped caring? The cafeteria was quiet. Everyone looked out at the human ships. I met a human general once, said. After the war, I asked him why humans fought so hard for species they barely knew. You know what? He told me. What? Several voices asked. At once, he said, because if we don't stand up for the weak, we're no better than the bullies. My mother taught me that when I was 5 years old. It's not complicated. Mandibles clicked in what passed for a sigh among his species. Humans have this concept they call doing the right thing. It's not about profit or strategy or politics. It's just doing what's right because it's right. That sounds naive, said one alien. Maybe, said, but naive or not, there are 127 warships out there, and they came because 40,000 civilians needed help. I'll take naive over practical any day. Communicator beeped. He checked it and stood up quickly. The just arrived. Medical teams to stations. This is it. Everyone rushed to their positions. Stayed in the cafeteria, watching. Through the window, he saw the fleet appear on the other side of the station. 47 warships versus 127. A message broadcast across all channels. A human voice, female, calm and professional. Vessels, this is Admiral of the Tan. Fleet, you have attacked a civilian. Station, you have 60 seconds to withdraw. This is your only warning. Watch the flagship. He could imagine the commander inside trying to decide. Attack the humans, retreat. The chose poorly. The first shot lit up the darkness of space and whispered a prayer for them because he knew what was about to happen. He had seen humans at war before, and he knew that they had made a terrible, terrible mistake. The fleet arrived 30 minutes early, watched the sensors as 47 warships dropped out of faster than light travel. They were close, too close. The station shields were already powering up, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. Shields at maximum, reported. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. Estimate they'll last maybe 4 hours under sustained fire. The human fleet is still 2 hours away, said she. Looked at, can we hold? Study the tactical display. Maybe if they just bombard us from distance. If they board. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The first shots came 5 minutes later. Energy weapons and kinetic rounds hammered into the station's shields. The whole structure shook. In the residential sections, people screamed. Parents grabbed children. The elderly tried to find shelter. Shields holding said, but they're draining fast. 15% power loss in the first minute. At that rate we have an hour. Calculated, not 4. Activated the station-wide intercom. All security personnel, arm yourselves. All civilians, move to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. We are under attack. Sun and worked in Cargo Bay 5. They were ordinary workers, human, both in their 30s. Sun loaded freight containers onto transport sleds, managed the inventory. Computers, neither of them was a soldier, but both of them were human. The armory is 3 sections away, Sun said, checking his. We can make it if we run. Why the armory? Asked one of their alien. He was a small furry creature with big eyes. We should hide, find shelter. Looked at him. If they board the station, there won't be any safe hiding spots. Better to fight. But your cargo workers squeaked. You're not trained for combat. Sun smiled grimly. I did 3 years of mandatory service back on Earth. Did 2. We know how to fight. Come on. They ran through the corridors. The station shook again. Lights flickered. They passed groups of aliens huddling in corners, too scared to move. Sun wanted to stop and help them, but there wasn't time. The armory was a small room filled with weapons, mostly non-lethal stuff for dealing with drunk traders, but there were a few real guns in the back, locked in a secure cabinet. Was already there, handing out weapons to security personnel. Most of them were aliens. They looked terrified. Sun Good said, you know how to use these? Yes, sir, they both said. Handed them rifles and ammunition. Docking Bay 7 is our weak point, though. We'll try to breach there first. I need you 2 to hold that position. Just the 2 of us. Asked. I'll send more people as soon as I can. said right now you're. What I have, can you do it? Essen looked at each other, then they nodded, docking. Bay 7 was enormous, ships could land. Their cargo could be loaded and unloaded. Right now it was empty except for a few transport shuttles. Sung and set up a position behind a stack of cargo containers. How many do you think will come? Asked. Too many, Sun said. He checked his rifle, but we'll make them pay for every meter. They didn't have to wait long. The station's shields failed in the outer sections after 90 minutes. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and through the breached hull, boarding pods crashed into docking bay 7. The pods opened and poured out. They were huge, 8 ft tall, covered in black exoskeletons. Their arms ended in blade-like claws. They had mandibles that clicked and clacked as they moved. There were dozens of them. Sung and opened fire. The first few went down easily. They weren't expecting resistance, but the others learned fast. They spread out, used cover, advanced in teams. There's too many, shouted over the gunfire. Just keep shooting, Sun yelled back. Rushed their position. Sun shot it twice in the chest, but it kept coming. Its blade arm swung at Sun's head. Sun ducked, but the blade caught his shoulder, cutting deep. Sun screamed. But he didn't fall. He grabbed this arm with his free hand, yanked it off balance, and shot it in the face at point-blank range. Sun saw the blood. You're hurt? I'm fine, Sun said. Blade was still stuck in his shoulder. He grabbed it with his teeth, pulled it out, and spat it on the ground. Blood poured from the wound. Keep fighting. More security personnel arrived. 20 aliens with weapons, but they saw the and froze. These aliens had never seen real combat. They didn't know what to do, didn't have time to explain. She just kept firing, kept moving, kept fighting. The aliens watched her in shock. She was so small compared to the, but she fought like a demon. Sun was using his rifle one-handed now. The other arm hung useless at his side, but he didn't stop, didn't retreat. Every time it got close, he found a way to put it down. The broadcast a message to their fleet. The humans intercepted it. Later they would translate it. These are civilians. These are just workers. How is this possible? Back in the command center, watched the battle. Through security cameras, she saw Sun bleeding and wounded, still fighting. She saw small and fragile looking, holding a position against creatures twice her size. They're going to die, said quietly. He was watching too. Maybe, said, but they'll die standing. That's the human way. The shields failed completely in hour 2, boarded in 3 more locations. Security teams fought them everywhere. The aliens were brave, but they weren't trained for this. They fell back section by section. The humans didn't fall back. The doctor was in medical bay when breached section 12 right above him. He could hear the fighting. He could hear people screaming, "We need to evacuate." One of his nurses said, "They're coming this way. We have patients," said wounded. "We're not leaving them, but we'll die." "Then we die," said simply. "I'm a doctor. I don't abandon patients." He grabbed a surgical laser, the only weapon he could find, and stood at the entrance to medical bay. When the first appeared, didn't hesitate. He fired the laser straight into its eyes. The shrieked and fell back. 2 more appeared, fought them with a surgical tool in desperation, and the stubborn refusal to give up that every human learned growing up on a death world. By hour 3, the station was failing. 40% of the outer sections were in hands. 3,000 civilians were trapped in those sections. The rest had made it to the inner areas, but they were pushing forward. Made a decision he would remember for the rest of his life. Seal the intersections, he ordered. Lock down all access points, but the people trapped outside started. We'll die anyway if we don't buy time, said. His voice was hard. We have to save who we can. Looked like she wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Do it. The intersection sealed. Massive doors slammed shut. 3,000 people were now trapped. With the Jinn appeared in the command center. He was an old human, at least 70, with white hair and a face covered in wrinkles. He had worked maintenance on the station for 30 years. I heard what you did, Jinn said too. Sealing the sections. I didn't have a choice, said. I know, Jinn said, but I've worked in those service tunnels for 3 decades. I know every pipe, every duct, every shaft. I can get people out. Jinn, you'll die out there. Maybe, Jinn said, but I'm 70 years old. I've lived a good life. Those people trapped out there have families, children. They deserve a chance. Wanted to say no. Wanted to order Jinn to stay safe, but he saw the determination in the old man's eyes and knew it would be useless. Take volunteers, said finally, but only volunteers. Jinn put together a team of 15 people, 12 aliens and 3 humans. They moved through the service tunnels, crawling through spaces barely wide enough for their bodies. The heat was extreme. The radiation levels were dangerous. Atmosphere mixture was wrong, making it hard to breathe. The aliens struggled. They had to stop every few minutes to rest. Jinn and the other humans kept going. They didn't complain about the heat or the radiation or the bad air. They just moved forward. How are you doing this? One alien gasped. The heat should have knocked you unconscious by now. Earth's equator reaches 50 degrees C on a summer day, Jinn said, crawling through a pipe. This is uncomfortable, but we've handled worse. They found trapped civilians in Section 23, families huddled in a storage room. They were searching the area, getting closer. Jinn got everyone moving through the tunnels. It was slow. The aliens weren't built for this. Children cried. The elderly struggled. But the humans in Jinn's team helped carry people, encouraged them, refused to leave anyone behind. They saved 2,400 people. When Jinn finally made it back to the intersections, his skin was burned from radiation. His lungs were damaged from bad air, but he was smiling. Not bad for an old man, he said, to then collapsed. Rushed him to medical bay. Hour 4 arrived. Human fleet was close now. The sensors showed space bending and twisting as the ships prepared to arrive, but they had control of 40% of the station. Hundreds were dead, thousands were wounded. The defenses were breaking. Sun sat in docking bay 7, his back against a cargo container. His shoulder was a mess. He'd lost a lot of blood. Was next to him also wounded. They'd held the bay, but barely. Think we'll make it? Asked. Don't know, Sun said, but we made them pay. That's something. The commander broadcast a final message to the station. Surrender now. You have fought well, but you cannot win. Surrender and you will be treated mercifully. His response was simple, no, and then space tore open, and 127 human warships emerged into reality, and everything changed. Space screamed. That was the only way could describe it. Later, space itself seemed to cry out in pain as reality bent and twisted. Tears appeared in the fabric of the universe glowing with impossible colors, and through those tears came the human fleet. 127 warships emerged in perfect formation. They didn't drift out slowly like normal ships, leaving faster than light travel. They appeared instantly, as if they had always been there. The physics was wrong, the math was impossible, but humans had never cared much about impossible. Stared at her sensors. The readings were insane. Each ship was enormous. The smallest frigate was twice the size of a destroyer. The largest ship, the flagship, was the size of a small moon. That's the TUS Indomitable said quietly. Carrier class. I served on her sister ship once. She can hold 10,000 Marines and 200 fighter craft. 10,000 Marines whispered for one ship. Humans don't do small, said. You'll learn that. The human flagship broadcast on all channels. A woman appeared on every screen in the station. She wore a crisp military uniform. Her face was calm, professional. Behind her could see a massive bridge filled with officers and crew. This is Admiral of the Terran United Colonial Service, commanding officer of the 5th Fleet. Vessels, you have attacked a civilian station. You have violated interstellar law. You have murdered unarmed people. You have exactly 60 seconds to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply, you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. The commander appeared on a split screen. He was massive even for his armor was decorated with kill markings. His mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Humans, the council said you were gone. That you were myths. We were never gone. Admiral said, we were just waiting for someone to need us. You made a mistake. Today, you hurt people under Terran protection. Now you pay the price. Your fleet outnumbers us, the commander said, but we do not surrender. We do not flee, we fight to the death. So be it, Admiral said. Her voice was ice cold. Weapons free. Engage. The fired first. 47 warships unleashed everything they had. Energy weapons, missiles, kinetic rounds. The barrage was incredible. Enough firepower to destroy a planet. The human point offense systems activated. Hundreds of automated guns tracked incoming fire. Computers calculated trajectories in microseconds. The humans didn't try to dodge. They didn't need to. 99.2% of the barrage was intercepted before it reached the human ships. The remaining 8% hit shields that barely flickered. Impossible, the commander breathed. You attack civilians, Admiral said. Did you think we wouldn't prepare for this? Did you think we wouldn't be ready? She turned to someone off-screen. Target their weapon systems. Disable them. I want prisoners for trial. The human fleet opened fire. It wasn't like the barrage. There was no wild spraying of weapons. Each shot was calculated, precise, fired solid slugs at a fraction of light speed. They punched through shields like they weren't there, but instead of hitting engines or life support, they hit weapon systems. Gun turrets exploded, missile bays shattered. They were being systematically disarmed. In 4 minutes, 23 ships were disabled. Dead in space, weapons destroyed, but life support intact. 8 more ships tried to fire on the station itself. If they couldn't win, they would at least kill the civilians. Admiral's voice was colder than vacuum. Those 8 ships, destroy them. The human fleet's main gun spoke. 8 shots. 8 warships turned into expanding clouds of debris. Remaining 16 ships tried to run. Let them go, Admiral said. Track them, but let them run. I want them to tell everyone what happens when you attack civilians under human protection. On the station, people watched in stunned silence. The battle had lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes. They had been completely overwhelmed. It wasn't even close, but the battle wasn't over. Admiral, one of her officers, said, they have 10,000 soldiers on the station. They're fighting the civilians. Admiral's face hardened. Deploy the Marines full combat load. I want every off that station in 20 minutes. Non-lethal force when possible, but if they resist, put them down. Yes, ma'am. Across the fleet, Marine transport ships launched, hundreds of them. They swarmed toward the station like angry wasps. In Docking Base 7, sung and were still fighting. They were exhausted, almost out of ammunition. They had pulled back to regroup, but they would come again. Then they heard it, a sound like thunder. The whole station shook. What was that? Asked. The docking bay doors opened, not the ones that had breached the main doors, and through them came human Marines. They wore powered armor, black and silver, covered in weapons. Each Marine stood 7 feet tall in their armor. They moved with mechanical precision, their boots shaking the floor. The Marine in front raised an armored hand. His voice came through external speakers. Civilians, stand down. We've got this. Sung and lowered their weapons. They were shaking with exhaustion and relief. The Marines moved past them into the station. They didn't run. They didn't rush. They just walked forward with absolute confidence. The next section saw them coming. 50 warriors against 30 human Marines charged, screaming their war cries. The Marines' leader, Captain, broadcast on the frequency, surrender now. This is your only chance. They didn't surrender. They attacked. Captain, non-lethal rounds, subdue them. The Marines opened fire. They used rubber bullets, stun rounds, sonic weapons that went down hard. In 30 seconds, all 50 were unconscious or 2 injured to fight. Medics rushed forward immediately. Human medics in combat armor. They started treating the right there. Why are you healing them? One alien civilian asked. They try to kill you because they're wounded, a medic said simply. That's what we do. We heal the wounded, all of them. Captain's team moved through the station like a precision instrument. They encountered resistance in every section. Every time they offered surrender first, some took the offer. Those were detained peacefully. Others fought. Those were subdued with overwhelming force. In 17 minutes, the station was secure. 10,000 soldiers were either captured or neutralized. The human Marines had suffered 0 casualties. In medical bay was exhausted. He'd been treating wounded for hours. When human medics arrived to help, he almost cried with relief. The chief medical officer from the fleet took charge. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and efficient hands. Doctor, report. 247 critically wounded, 820 moderately wounded, hundreds more with minor injuries. Said, I've been triaging, but we don't have enough supplies or staff. You have them now, said. She spoke into her communicator. I need 3 mobile surgical units, full medical teams, and all available supplies to this location. Now, within minutes, human medical equipment materialized in the bay. Doctors and nurses swarmed the wounded. Aliens and alike received immediate care. One alien patient stared at a Human doctor treating a wounded soldier. Why are you helping him? He tried to kill you. The doctor didn't even look up. From his work, he's a patient. I'm a doctor. This isn't complicated. Admiral personally came to the station. She met with and in the command center. Casualties, she asked. 312 dead, said quietly. 900 wounded. Could have been much worse without your arrival. It could have been prevented if we'd been watching closer, Admiral said. That's on us, on me. You came when we called, said. That's what matters. Admiral looked at him, really looked at him. You're served in the 4th Marine Division during the war. Yes, ma'am. Long time ago. I read your file on the way here, she said. You held this station together. You saved thousands of lives. I had help, said he, gestured. This woman kept everyone calm. Coordinated the evacuation. He pulled up a list on his son and cargo workers. Held docking bay 7 against 50. Jin, a 70-year-old maintenance worker, saved 2,400 people from sealed sections. Our doctor treated the wounded while fighting off with a surgical laser. Admiral nodded. I want to meet all of them. Combinations medals. They didn't do it for medals, said. I know, Admiral said, but they're getting them anyway. She turned to, we need to talk about what happens next. They didn't just attack on their own. Someone gave them information. Someone told them humans wouldn't respond. The Galactic Council asked, maybe. Don't know yet, but we're going to find out. Admiral's eyes were hard, and when we do, there will be consequences. Outside, human ships continue to arrive. Engineering vessels to repair the station, medical ships to treat the wounded, supply ships with food and water and medicine. Watched it all from the observation deck. A young alien approached him. Ambassador, I don't understand. Why did the humans come? What do they gain from this? Clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. You're asking the wrong question. Humans don't think in terms of gain. They think in terms of right and wrong. That seems inefficient. Maybe, said, but look around. They crossed 40 light years in 4 hours. They brought an entire battle fleet. They saved 40,000 people who aren't even human. They're treating the enemy wounded with the same care as their own. Tell me, young one, which is really more efficient, a society that calculates every cost, or a society that just does the right thing and figures out the cost? Later, the young alien had no answer. Smiled. The humans are back, in the galaxy is about to remember why that matters. 2 days after the battle, Nexus looked like a completely different place. Human engineering crews worked around the clock. Sparks flew as welders repaired hull breaches. New shield generators were installed. Damaged sections were rebuilt. Woo. The fleet engineer stood in what used to be docking bay 7. It had been destroyed during the fighting. Now it was almost complete again. The young alien engineer who worked on the station watched in disbelief. How are you doing this so fast? This bay was completely destroyed. It should take months to repair. Woo checked his. We and LT Unk and GT LL have it operational by tomorrow morning. Full repairs completed in 10 more days. That's impossible. No, it's just hard work, Wu said. He pointed at his crew. There were hundreds of humans in engineering suits working in perfect coordination. We brought prefab materials. We have the equipment. We have trained people. It's not magic. It's just being prepared. But you couldn't have known you'd need to repair a station, said. We didn't know specifically, Wu admitted. But When you deploy a fleet, you prepare for everything: repair materials, medical supplies, food, water, everything people might need. That's just common sense. Was learning that humans had a very different definition of common sense than everyone else. In the medical bay, supervised the treatment of the last critical patients. Most of the wounded had been stabilized. The humans had brought medical technology that seemed like science fiction to the aliens. Regeneration chambers that could heal broken bones in hours, synthesizers that could create replacement blood on demand, surgical robots that could operate with perfect precision. But what impressed the aliens most wasn't the technology, it was how the humans treated everyone. A prisoner wounded during the battle was in a bed next to an alien civilian that had injured. The human doctors treated both with the same care, the same attention, the same compassion. I don't understand. The said his name was I tried to kill you. Why do you heal me? Checked his vital signs. Because you're hurt, that's reason enough. But I'm your enemy. You were our enemy. Corrected. Now you're our patient. There's a difference. She adjusted his medication. You'll live, you'll heal completely, and then you'll stand trial for attacking civilians. But until then you're under medical care, and I take care of my patients. Was silent for a long time. Finally he said, the council told us humans were monsters, dangerous, that you would destroy any species that stood against you. And what do you think now? Asked. I think the council lied. Said quietly. In the command center, Admiral was on a hollow conference with the Galactic Council. 20 species were represented. Their leaders appeared as holographic projections around the room. The council speaker, a tall, thin alien with blue skin, spoke first. Admiral, the council demands an explanation. You deployed a fleet without authorization. You attacked vessels. You have violated protocols. Admiral's face was calm, ice calm. The attack civilian station, 40,000 unarmed people. We responded to a distress call. That's not a violation. That's basic decency. The council has procedures for such situations. The speaker said you should have waited for authorization. Your procedures would have taken 12 hours. Admiral said everyone on that station would be dead. So no, I didn't wait for your authorization. I don't need your permission to save lives. Council chamber erupted in argument. Some species supported the humans. Others were angry. A few were clearly scared. Admiral waited for them to quiet down. Then she said, let me be very clear. We interrogated the commander. We know what happened. Someone in the council told that humans wouldn't respond to a distress call. Someone said we were gone, that we didn't care anymore. Someone used civilians as bait to test whether humanity was still watching. The chamber went silent. Who was it? Admiral asked. Her voice was soft but dangerous. Which one of you decided to gamble with 40,000 lives? No one answered. Fine, Admiral said. We'll find out eventually, but here's what's going to happen now. Humanity is done isolating itself. We're coming back to the galactic community. We'll establish embassies. We'll open trade. We'll share our technology and our culture. And if the council refuses, the speaker asked, then we do it anyway. Admiral said, we don't need your permission. We never did. We left 200 years ago because you tried to control us. We're coming back because people need us and no one is going to stop us. She paused, then added, but here's the deal. We protect. People, any species. You. Want human protection, you call us. We. Come every time. No questions asked, no. Political games, no bureaucracy. Someone sends a distress call, we respond. That's not how the council works. The speaker said, then maybe the council needs to work differently. Admiral said, 20 years ago we saved the council from we lost 30 million people doing it, and you thanked us by trying to put us in a cage. Well, we're not going back in the cage, we're here. Now we're staying, and if you don't like it, that's your problem. She ended the transmission. Watching from the side, whistled. That was diplomatic. I'm not a diplomat, Admiral said. I'm a soldier, and I just declared that humanity is back in the game. Later that day, Admiral met with the station's heroes. Sun sat with his arm in a regeneration cast, was beside him, bandaged but alive. Jin was in a wheelchair, still recovering from radiation exposure, stood with them. Exhausted but proud, Admiral gave each of them a medal, the Terran Star for valor. It was the highest military honor humanity could give to a civilian. You didn't have to fight, she told them. You're not soldiers, but you fought. Anyway, you held the line, you saved lives. That's what these medals represent, not just courage, but the choice to stand up when you could have run. Sun looked at his medal. We're just ordinary people, ma'am. No, Admiral said, you're human, and that's never been ordinary. 3 weeks later, found herself on a shuttle heading to Earth. She'd been offered a position as ambassador to the Galactic Council. She tried to refuse. She was a station administrator, not a politician, but had convinced her, you understand both worlds, human and alien. You can explain us to them, make them understand we're not monsters, we're just people who care. So now she was going to Earth, to the capital, to take up a position she never wanted. The shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere, stared out the window. She'd been born on a colony world. She'd never seen Earth before. It was beautiful and terrible, massive oceans, towering mountains, active volcanoes, storms that covered entire continents, and cities. Huge, sprawling cities filled with billions of people. Welcome to the Death World, the pilot said cheerfully. Smiled despite her nervousness. It's terrifying. Yeah, it's home. Back on Nexus, was preparing for his new assignment. Admiral had asked him to come out of retirement to help build the new Terran protection fleet, a fleet dedicated to responding to distress calls, to protecting civilians. Stood in his old office packing his belongings, appeared in the doorway. So, you're leaving us, the old ambassador said. Someone has to make sure this actually works. Said, we're building something new here, a fleet that exists only to help people, not for conquest, not for politics, just to help. Do you think it will work? Asked. I don't know. Admitted, but we have to try. The galaxy is a big place, dangerous, full of species like the who prey on the weak. Someone needs to stand up for the civilians, the unarmed, the helpless. And you think humans are the ones to do it? I know we are, said. It's what we've always done, even back on Earth before we went to space. Humans have always had this need to protect, to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. It's built into us. Our whole evolution was about cooperation, about protecting the group. We carried that into space. Nodded slowly. I have lived for 300 years. I have seen many species, many cultures, but I have never seen anything Like humanity, you are terrifying and wonderful in equal measure. We're just doing what's right, said. That's what makes you terrifying, said most species. Calculate cost and benefit. You just do things because they're right, without hesitation, without doubt. It's beautiful and frightening at the same time. Was offered a position with the Human Engineering Corps. She accepted immediately. Working with Wu had shown her what was possible when you pushed the boundaries, when you didn't accept that something was impossible. You just figured out how to do it anyway. Started a medical exchange program. Human doctors would teach at alien medical schools. Alien doctors would study human techniques. The idea was to share knowledge to make everyone better. Sung and went back to work in the cargo bays. They didn't want medals or fame. They just wanted to live their lives. But everyone who saw them knew what they'd done, knew they'd stood against impossible odds. 6 months later, Nexus was better than it had ever been. Human ships were regular visitors now. Trade was booming. New species came every day, curious about the humans, wanting to establish relationships. And in orbit, always watching, was a small human fleet, just 5 ships, but everyone knew what those ships represented: protection, security, the promise that if something went wrong, humans would come. The Terran protection fleet was growing, 20 ships now, stationed across the galaxy, each one ready to respond to distress calls, each one carrying Marines, medical staff, engineers, everything needed to help people in trouble. Gave her first speech to the Galactic Council from Earth. She appeared on every screen in the council chamber. 200 years ago, humanity left because you were afraid of us, she said. You saw what we could do, how we fought, how we survived, how we refused to quit. And instead of celebrating that, you tried to control it. We're different now. We're coming back, but on our terms. We will protect people. We will respond to distress calls. We will help anyone who asks, but we will not be controlled. We will not be caged. We will not be limited. Some of you are scared of us. I understand that. We're from a death world. We're strong in ways most species aren't. We're stubborn and we don't quit, and we have technology you consider dangerous. But here's what you need to understand. We are not your enemy. We never were. We're the ones who show up when everything goes wrong. We're the ones who run toward danger instead of away from it. We're the ones who fight for people we've never met because it's the right thing to do. They learned that lesson. They attacked civilians. They thought we wouldn't come. They were wrong, and now everyone knows. Touch our people, touch our allies, touch any civilian under our protection, and we will come every time with everything we have. Humanity is back. Get used to it. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. Some species cheered, others protested, but everyone understood the message. The humans were back, and the galaxy would never be the same. On Nexus, in a small cafe, a group of aliens sat with a few humans. They were drinking together, telling stories, sharing jokes. Sat with them, laughing at something, said the small furry alien, who had once been terrified, now considered her a friend. Can I ask you something? Said that day when they came, you could have run, you could have hidden. Why did you fight? Thought about it. Because someone had to. Because running meant people would die, and I couldn't live with that. Even though you could have died, even though said that's just what you do. You see someone in trouble, you help. You see Someone in danger, you protect them. It's not complicated. Shook his head in wonder. Humans are crazy. Grinned. Yeah, but we are kind of crazy. Outside the window, space was peaceful. Ships came and went, trade happened. People lived their lives, and watching. Over it all, silent and vigilant human. Warships patrolled, because someone had sent an SOS too, and the had answered. They always would.